What movie is so disturbing, you would never watch it again? Old one, but it's seared in my memory. The Cook, the Thief, his wife and her lover. I actually paid to see it in the theater. I don't know what I was thinking. I saw this in my early 20s and came back to it as an older, wiser adult. It's visually brilliant and emotionally devastating. We now think of Michael Gambon as Dumbledore, forgetting how tall and physically imposing he is. And we now think of Helen Mirren as prim and proper Ki, forgetting how excellent her emotional performances are. There's no extraneous detail or character interaction in this movie. I thought I was the only one who had seen this movie and was so disturbed by it. I will never, ever watch it again. When I saw it, a bunch of the audience fled the theater during the truck filled with rotting meat scene. When they stuffed the book down that guy's throat. Traumatized me. Dead girl. Some guys find a dead girl, she is a zombie, and proceed to continuously have sex with her body. This progresses until one of the guys begins cutting holes into her body to have sex with, as these holes are warmer and cozier. And then he gets infected when she bites him. Honestly, just reading your description has fucked me up. The movie tries, I think, to be an allegory for sexual objectification. It literalizes a common theme in feminist thought, that since an object is something deprived of genuine agency and its own point of view, sexual objectification is, especially when taken to an extreme, essentially mortification, treating a living person as if they were lifeless, a corpse. But the movie, I think, just veers off into misery porn. Too much attention is given to the monstrous glee of the men involved, to the point where it's almost a mondo movie, a kind of exploitation film masquerading as an expression of moral outrage for what it depicts. I can't remember what it's called, but it was based off the true story where that girl was hitchhiking and got kidnapped and lived in a box for 7 years. Wasn't it called The Girl in the Box or something along those lines? Edit, it's called Girl in the Box. I read the book about it and was disturbed for months. Antichrist is probably the only movie I've ever turned off in discomfort. I have a strong stomach. Apparently genital mutilation close-ups are my limit. The fox eating itself really disturbed me, too. Same with the lady ferociously masturbating. Just a dark, strange movie. It was recommended to me by a friend who is super chipper and upbeat. Very odd. I watched it in a cinema as a teenager. Some guy literally ran out of the theater apparently having a panic attack. That sounds made up, but it's absolutely true and was weird as hell. I thought it was the most pretentious nonsense, go nowhere tripe I'd ever seen. I wonder if I'd think differently now I'm grown up. Same. But watched it on a date in my 20s. We shook hands that night after the movie. Tusk genuinely fucked with me, especially the pool scenes. After watching Tusk, I genuinely don't know my feelings on it. Because on one hand, literally what the fuck, it's really disturbing and gross, but on the other hand there were just moments where I'd laugh out loud. Like the guy screaming walruses never cry. Fucking sent me for like 5 minutes. So I was thoroughly disturbed by the imagery, but some other parts of the movie managed to stop it from giving me nightmares. I'd like to say Martyrs, 2008, but chances are I'll rewatch it sometime. Then again, I've been meaning to rewatch Watership Down, 1978, and have not managed to bring myself to it. So, edit, if you're going to check out Martyrs, don't read about it. Go in blind like I did. Watership Down is a good book, interesting premise. Why they chose to make a fucking animated film out of it is beyond me. And yes, I saw it in the theater when it came out. I was 11. Thanks, Mom. I worked with Pascal Largier, the director of Martyrs, on one of his follow-up films. Deeply respected the guy going in and advocated quite a bit to work on his film. About 3-4 weeks later, I had lost all respect for him. Fuck that guy. He's a pervert, a sadist and an all-around piece of shit human being. 2 weeks straight of women being beaten, bloodied and tortured, It was fake, of course. The director spent countless hours on the torture scenes, pushing the actresses to their absolute emotional limits to scream and cry as much as possible. It's really hard to describe what it is like experiencing multiple women crying and screaming for several hours a day, 2 weeks in a row, despite being fake. It really affects you. One of the higher-up crew members quit because she claimed she caught him rubbing his dick through his pants during one of these scenes while behind the monitor. Nobody else claims to have seen it. The worst was when one of the lead actresses fell through a glass window on the last day of production. Wasn't safe-footed. Wasn't stunt glass. Wasn't in the script prior to director telling her to pound on it. Glass shatters. She was sliced neck to ear across her face. I was there. She's screaming bloody murder for her life. Glass barely missed her artery, as we were told later. And the fucking cunt Pascal Largier turns to his first assistant director and director of photography and whispers fairly nonchalantly, "When can we start shooting again?" Within several hours the movie was done shooting and all them are hugging, celebrating, shaking hands. I felt I had PTSD for months after working on that film. A Serbian film. It feels like a sin even to mention this movie. Because no matter how many times you say but don't watch it. Seriously, someone watches it every time its name is spoken. Oh, this sounds like a lovely educational story about the rich cultural history of Serbia. I think I'm going to let my kids watch it. Sallow? I was gonna say the same thing. That movie is fucked up. Made me sick. I can really appreciate the level of description and the comment chain rating in this thread right now. Just vague enough stuff at the top level and the more fucked up shit below so I can keep my head right. Threads. Up until a few years ago I'd have said the same. I was shown the entire film in school and had vivid nightmares for years. Instead of being paranoid about being vaporized without warning at all times, I started to look into the Cold War as a subject. I'm a bit obsessed now, and having rewatched Threads many times, it's an excellent film. The tiny details in it during the build-up showed just how much effort went into it. I completely understand why you wouldn't want to watch it again, but as a cultural icon it's superb. The Emoji Movie. Disgusting. Went with my wife and daughter. That was an expensive nap. The White Christmas episode of Black Mirror. It's not a movie, but it has more plot than most movies. It's not even about gratuitous gore, it's mostly psychological and hit paranoias I didn't know I had. Also you can watch it without seeing any other part of the series. I was thinking of White Bear when reading this. That one was tough too. That episode bothered me for weeks afterwards. I went into it unspoiled, and afterwards, I felt like I'd been poisoned. I understand what the statement the story is making, and I can never see it again. Freaking awful. Apocalypse Now. I know a lot of people love it, but the scene where the family is hiding something and so the soldiers kill them all and the something turns out to be a puppy. I just wanted Existence to be done after that. That fucking film. You just reminded me of yet another film I was too young to see. Thanks, Mom. The Pianist. Literally every single thing about this movie is unbelievably depressing. The color scheme, the sound, the music, the facial expression, everything. It is a great movie, and had it not very depressing, I'd watch it again. When I was a child, I randomly watched parts of the movie when it was on TV. Didn't know much about the subject matter, and got up to the part where they throw the man on the wheelchair off the balcony purely because he didn't stand up when the soldiers walked in. It shocked the hell out of me and I quickly stopped watching. Finally watched the movie again a couple of years ago, and while it really is amazing and deserves its accolades, that scene was equally as terrible, among many other tough moments. The anime Perfect Blue. I got extremely disturbed watching it and just had to stop. Haven't watched the film all the way through and don't ever want to. The end was so worth it for me, but yeah, it's a twisted movie. The soundtrack, particularly when main character starts getting confused. I'd recommend finishing it if you can. Dancer in the Dark. Emotionally just brutal. Crushed me. Never want to see again. Event Horizon was deeply disturbing. Wolf Creek marked the beginning of gore porn, Utterly without hope of survival films and end of more fun horror films like Scream, and I never ever want to watch shit that fucking bleak again. Thank Baby Bill Tucker and Dale came along to save the day. I saw Event Horizon 20 years ago as a high schooler, and I'm still not over it.